Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Paladins Masters Land. My name is Pretty here. That's I Hold Shift. Ready to bring you some coverage for day number 3. Things are starting to heat up here. We've had to say goodbye to a couple of teams out of the losers bracket already, and we're going to have to say goodbye to a couple more later on. But first, before we get into that, we want to talk about a couple things that are coming up because we never sleep here at Skill Shot Media. We've got a really big event coming up for you later on in this year. You might know it as HRX. This year it's going to be a little bit different though. We're doing it at DreamHack. It's going to be bigger, badder than ever. Smite World Championship, Console World Championship, of course, the PWC Paladins World Championship, the Console Wars as well. We've got tournaments galore. Tickets are on sale now, and you want to grab them while they're hot off the press because, I mean, it's a little bit earlier this year. It's going to be in November as opposed to the first week of January. But that's not all, guys. Let's talk about this event and what's kind of coming for the split to come. Summer Split here starts on May 29th. So it's a pretty quick turnaround this time at Shift. We're not taking a big break here after this event. The Summer Lands, of course, sort of what we're doing now. But again, for the Summer Split will be taking place July 19th. The Fall Split is still to be determined. Of course, we have our PWC placement round, and this goes alongside that DreamHack event being bigger, badder than ever. It's going to be a long event. We got placement rounds, all kinds of cool stuff coming with that. Here's a little bit more info about what you can expect from the console series, the global series, as well as, of course, the PPL. Pretty much the same stuff here. The biggest takeaway from this is the dates, essentially. That's what you want to be paying attention to. Everything else is largely staying the same. Let's get into how we're going to be broadcasting because that's changing a little bit as well. Monday through Friday. I know most of you guys are going to be used to that 7 days a week schedule by now, but we're tuning it down a little bit. We're going to focus on promoting these matches a little bit heavier and focusing on getting them all out during the week. You can see the console series there, 4 matches a week, 1 global series team per region, and those are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And of course, we'll have a little bit of that PPL sprinkled along top as well. It's a lot, I know, guys, but we've got all kinds of great action for you. Let's get into what's happening today, though, at the Masters Land. We've got the bracket available for your viewing pleasure here. Fnatic versus Team Envy yesterday, Space Station and Na'Vi. I gotta say, a little more convincing from Na'Vi, if I'm being completely honest. I think it was a great showing by Space Station. Fnatic, Envy, they're feeling good. They got their revenge as well.
It's one of those things that with Space Station, you have to wonder how hot is the streak going to stay, and when you go up against
where does it stop, you know?
When you go up a formidable opponent like Na'Vi, how much of that mojo really is translating at the top echelon of Paladins. They're still going to be able to fight their way through, though, and this is going to be a really kind of a grudge match in the southern region, as you're going to have Space Station from Brazil and Burrito from Latin America. They've already talked about how they are very rehearsed against one another, and this should be a good test to see who's got the best stuff in the spring.
They didn't really want it to be that way. They wanted to meet each other in the finals, but unfortunately, Na'Vi made pretty quick work of Space Station yesterday, so they're going to send them down to the losers bracket to square off against Burrito. The first matchup of the day is going to be Envy versus G2, the North American grudge match here. We've already seen this matchup once prior in the PPL Spring Split Final.
And it was very convincing and not the way that I think a lot of people expected it. We wanted to see these two teams that have been so close throughout the regular season really have that perennial matchup in North America. It just didn't really end up being that way. It was a 4-1 for G2. And then, of course, obviously we know what happened in the finals. It just did not look so great for G2. But the big thing is the fact that Envy has really kind of gotten their groove back together. And they're looking a lot more solid here in the Masters series.
I think that's what's so much fun about this is because everyone is really trying so hard when they do have to take an L to come back a little bit stronger. Let's take a listen to what G2 had to say about this matchup again with Envy.
Welcome, guys. Now you're in the lower bracket, and today you're going to end up going up against G2, and you've played them, I mean, a number of times at this point, met with success, met with failure. So coming into today, just how are you feeling about this first set?
I mean, I think we're feeling pretty good. You know, we came off a tough loss yesterday to Fnatic, but they're a great team, and we have this kind of history of being able to bounce back after tough losses. So feeling pretty confident.
You know what, G2 prepared for us in the PPL land. They did their homework. Now it's our turn to do our homework and get our revenge.
Ooh, Tolkien talking some trash there a little bit. I like it. I like the confidence. You know, you were the only person who was confident enough to play Torvald this tournament so far. It didn't work out for you guys, but there was something there. What was the decision-making in that process? Why did you elect to bring out the grandpa in that game?
I saw the Xin. I want to make his life horrible. Quite simple as that. He just silences Xin, and he can't really do much, but it turns out the other two DPS just
Yeah.
destroy Thorvald.
Bugsy knew how to play around it really well. Keep his distance from him, poke with the Yomi. Honestly, we didn't expect him to run the Yomi. The guillotine was what we had expected, and the Yomi was a really good switch up by his part.
You guys saw a lot of success over in Las Vegas when you guys got invited over there. Not the same level of success here. What's the biggest difference between that LAN and this LAN here at Skillshot?
The length of the sets. Best of 5s, best of 7s. You know, we're really confident there. We're good at adapting in the longer sets, but in best of 3, sometimes they can just get out of your hands really quickly.
Also, the biggest difference was back in Vegas, they had around like 2 weeks. And then now here we had another week, so they had another week to prepare for us, and they actually see us as a threat this time. So they're able to do their homework, change their own metas, and it's inside of the game, and that causes us to have to change our game as well.
Hello, Phoenix here from Navi. If you guys win, would you guys be down to wear my penguin onesie?
I think so. Toki's already worn it. I'm down too if it fits, man.
So you'd have to get 2 tattoos at that point, not just the one, and then wear the penguin onesie.
All above, dude.
That's a photo I got to be a part of somehow. Thanks for joining us, guys. We appreciate you talking with us, and good luck today.
Thank you.
Team Envious seeming pretty confident about the ability to do homework, and that's what's, I think, so special about these double elimination events. It almost feels like who wants it bad, and obviously we got a little sneak peek from Phoenix, was able to sneak in that interview room and talk a little bit about wearing the penguin onesie. And Phoenix, I think we really need to get a word from the horse's mouth here as to exactly what it means to don the penguin onesie. What makes it so special, and why do you bring this to every event?
I don't know, man. The penguin onesie is just comfortable. Like, when you feel comfortable, you play better. And I
Look
want to
good,
see if
feel
Envy
good?
Yeah, if look good, feel good, exactly. And I hope that Envy...
I appreciate the bow tie here.
It's fancy.
I appreciate you abiding by the desk dress code.
It's fancy, dude. I'm dressed up.
As well. I mean, he wins. He dresses nice. He can troll a little bit. He can do an interview. Is there anything that you can't do? What's your biggest weakness? And don't say playing DPS.
Well, playing DPS, of course.
It's not.
I can't expose my weaknesses, man, and I still have a tournament to play.
All right, that's fair. That is very fair.
Think about it.
So what is your, I mean, losing to Team Envy at Vegas, unfortunately, you guys are looking to come back and have a bit of a stronger showing this time around. What's the biggest changes for you guys? What do you think, being a team that has lost to Envy as well, G2, they need to make some adjustments here. What would you like to see from G2 to be able to take down Envy?
Well, for G2, they already did before in the PPL, and of course they are 4-1, so I think they just have to play their own game, make sure that they understand that Envy is going to look over the vaults and like prepare for it, so they have to be ready for it, and I think they will. Let
me ask you this. What do you do if you're G2 then? Like, because when you don't lose, it's hard to identify, you know, what are they going to do? It's almost like you want to think a couple of steps ahead. So in your winning ways, obviously, you guys win a lot from time to time over there on V. What do you guys do to stay ahead of the pack?
So what we do is first we stick to what worked, yeah, and then you also prepare for thinking what they would think, and then you think what counters that again. So you like first you do the same thing because they think, oh, it's gonna be the same thing, and then you prepare for what they think is gonna work, and then you counter that again. Like you have to just, it's 4D chess, man. You have to be aware. You have to be ready.
Couple of steps ahead. Let's throw it over to a quick interview to see what exactly G2 were thinking heading into this matchup.
All right, well, welcome, guys, to the third day of the Masters LAN. So far, you've been kind of on a, I want to say, rocky patch. You did really well during the PPL finals. Now coming into this week, it's been kind of some ups, some downs, but you're going up against Envy, a team that you've played countless times. You just beat them on Wednesday. Are you feeling pretty confident about today?
Yeah, we didn't do much changes to what we did originally. We've thought about changes that they could make, but we're going to go in with the same game plan as always and take it to them.
So how you guys feeling today? I mean, you looked a different beast yesterday, and the day before you looked completely different. So what's today like? What's the flavor?
We're gonna go in there with the same mindset as yesterday, man. Cuss said it best. We have no plan. We're just gonna go in there, play the game. What happens, happens, and we'll ride the waves. Whatever.
I was just about to say, you guys are sounding pretty confident in your quote-unquote game plan, when yesterday it was all caution in the wind. We don't even know what we're going to do. Is that just kind of you guys getting back to your instinctual nature as Paladins players of 2+ years at this point and just letting raw mechanics take over?
I wouldn't say it's instinctual. I would just say we're comfortable with Envy. We're comfortable with any opponent that we play on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So we're well prepared for Envy. They're well prepared for us. So the best team out there is going to win today.
You talked about actually playing one of the more passive roles of a support that you've had in a long time yesterday on that Genos. I mean, you only died twice. It worked well. So what did it feel like for you, and how do you think that helped the team, just maybe having a little bit of hands-off nature when you're usually more of a go-getter, make things happen type support?
Being able to play passive, especially on the Bright Marsh game, I was able to see plays develop a lot easier. I was able to calm a lot more, and I believe it put my DPS especially in a better position to do the role that they needed to do.
And do you think that having that kind of passive play style helps you more in a best of 3 where it's just we need to win these 2 games? Or do you think even in the long haul, if you go best of 5, best of 7, you'd still maybe want to kind of keep to that style?
Well, best of 5s and best of 7s, I mean, you've got more room for error and more room for experimentation. When it comes to best of 3s, you need to play somewhat reserved, but you don't want to be too predictable. I feel like at this time in Paladins Esports, there's 6 or 7 teams here that could win the LAN, right? Easily. And predictability puts you in the bottom rung of those 6 or 7 teams. So you do need to change it up a little bit. But yeah, definitely best of 5s and best of 7s, I can be a little bit more loose and do some different things.
Speaking of changing it up, obviously we've had some facial reconstructions here with our hair patterns. Should we be expecting any changes on that front as we get into the last 2 days? Kyle, anything from you?
What, my facial hair?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, I think I'm just gonna let it go, honestly. I mean, I've kind of grown to it the last day, and he's convinced me that it's not bad, but I think it's terrible.
He's my Luigi, and I'm his Mario.
Yeah, that was a great picture the other day. It really worked. The height, it was all good. We appreciate you guys stopping by. Good luck today, and we look forward to seeing the match.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate those words from Mario and Luigi there at G2. On your screen now, the North American top seed, undefeated until they unfortunately ran into Fnatic at the PPL Spring Final. And I want to talk a little bit about exactly that mentality that they were talking about. What are your thoughts on that fly by the seat of our pants type of style coming out from G2? How much do you go into a match being prepared, saying this is what we have to do, or is it a little bit more reactive, like we're just going to watch and see what they do and just counterpunch?
I think it comes down to the same thing with us and Fnatic. They play each other so much, you know what the other want to play, and you also know like who to ban out or who to focus, like who tilts on the enemy team. You know everything from each other, and that's just yeah, that's how it works. And at some point, people become
who tilts on Fnatic.
I can't.
Does Mutu tilt?
Mutu doesn't tilt.
Does he ever get it?
Mutu never tilts. It's incredible.
So it's only up. We saw him pop off a couple of times yesterday. That's pretty exciting stuff here. Things are heating up. I think I definitely have to echo what Cuss said. 6 or 7 teams at this event could realistically win, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was any of those 6
I agree for sure.
or 7. But it's going to come down to great performances from that man right there. Evil Eye had a great start. We're going to go to the map screen now. You already have called what map you think. How did you know?
Stonekeep, man. I analyzed both teams. I analyzed both teams before we got here, and I know that they like Stonekeep.
200 IQ. Did you actually?
Yeah.
Or did you hear him talking about
No,
it?
listen. G2 just hates Bright Marsh because Bright Marsh is when you capture the point, right? It's a roll to like the left final choke, and there's only one fight, and it's not much room for errors, and they just don't like it, so they're gonna ban it. And then they are higher seed because they got first seed out of the PPL, of course, which means they will most likely move to the Stonekeep, and they did.
And dude, do you remember what iDropBodies did to Envy on Stonekeep with Androxus just a couple of days ago?
He was popping off.
Do you think we see that ban? Can you afford to ban an Andro?
I don't think they will ban it. I think they're just more reluctant to picking Drogos now themselves, because that's why the Andro was picked for the Drogos specifically.
And I mean, Bomb King is such an impactful pick for random noob. I think it's an easy switch up. I think you know, a lot of teams will run Bomb King on Stonekeep. You don't need to force yourself into the Drogos. I will say, I'm a little surprised with the role that Pip has played. He was very popular in the PPL Spring Finals, but we've seen a little bit of a dip in terms of usage of the Volpine.
It's mostly because G2 was known for their healer Pip, and if you look back at the Europeans, they play more of a damage Pip style. Some Europeans still run like the reload card, so you still get the more healing off, but they also have the damage, and I think that's more of the role that Pip fits in, so you can run the Geno solo heal, so you have enough heals that way.
So we're seeing very different styles of bans come through for G2. They take off the Shaolin as well as the Drogos, whereas Envy are completely focused on banning out these frontliners. Terminus and Makoa gone off the board. Cassie is being hovered, and she will be locked. Oh no, it's actually the Maeve. What are your thoughts on this? Because the Maeve has definitely not quite as similar to Pip, but has seen a little bit of up and down as we move from different region to different region. Some people love her, some people ban her, some people won't pick it at all.
I think Maeve right now is just in an incredibly strong spot because there's no damage fall off and people at this level are really good at hitting their knives, even long range.
Yeah.
And the burst damage from Street Justice is just insane on Maeve. She has the burst, she has the poke, she has the mobility. She can do everything right now and she's really good in this current meta as well.
I want to get your thoughts on Maeve's matchup with Inara, because typically when we talk about Maeve, when we started to see Maeve, it was actually Splice's Moonchopper, I believe, was the first guy to kind of bring out the Street Justice. And it was against Terminus's and Fernando's, things that it could go right through the shield. But if I'm being honest, the more I'm seeing it, the more I'm kind of okay with this into almost any of the frontliner matchups, including Inara.
It comes down to, like I said, that she can even poke out an Inara and she can still flank. Like you can ignore the Inara on point, let her be on point, and just go for the backline and just burst her and let your team deal with Inara, like get her low, and then just use your burst from the Street Justice to kill her. It still does a lot of damage, and it doesn't specifically have to go through a Power Siphon or a shield. You can still do the burst damage with Street Justice.
Damage is damage at the end of the day. And as I'm watching this draft start to become fleshed out, Phoenix, I'm not really seeing a weak point for either of these teams. I think they have incredibly comfortable stuff on both ends of the coin here, especially when you're looking at G2. I mean, War Doom on Fernando looked incredible yesterday on Bright Marsh. Dose-Ups on Ruckus. I don't know that that's lost a game this tournament. I mean, great start for really both teams.
I think they both went for comfort picks, because if you look at G2 compared to the PPL and finals, they were banning out one DPS. Like they were banning out Rock Monkey mostly. Yeah. Right now they split them, but the Shalin banned for Rock Monkey and the Drogo's banned for Random Noob, which is confusing to me because they were dealing with Drogo so well. With
I know. They absolutely steamrolled him on that pick.
And I think this is what I was talking about earlier. Is they got in their own heads. Were thinking like this is what they're gonna predict and this is how we're gonna counter it. And I think they might have gotten in their own heads. I'm not sure, but this is what it looks like.
We got to do what they don't think we'll even be brave enough to do. Kinessa's going to be locked in as well. This is pretty interesting, because Bodies has been primarily playing the Maeve for G2, but he has also traditionally been the sniper player for them as well. Who do you think's going what in terms of the G2 DPS players?
I think we'll be Bodies on the Kinessa, and then Evil Eye on the Maeve, and then Doe on the Ruckus, Wardum on Fernando, of course, and then Cass on the Dumba.
So as our dedicated Khan main, our Khan one trick, so to speak, what are you thinking about this last pick Khan for Envy?
I think they're realizing that carries are really good and they just focus on the carries, and then whatever tank is left, they just fill it in, and that's what we do with Khan. We just fill it in, and it's really good actually. It's really comfortable to play with Khan, in my opinion.
All right, those are the drafts for game number 1. It's time to get into game though. Casters, take us home.
Well, we'll take you home. And my home is here. His is a little farther away from Europe. Hugh Judson
4,000 miles or so.
Joins us there. 4,000 miles, but that doesn't matter because you're here with me.
I'm right here right
We're
now.
reunited, and it feels so good. Evan Rayner here, Rain Day, if you guys know us from our aliases, and it's time to get into this game. I'm so excited for just today's competition, Vox, overall, because we have great sets. I mean, Space Station and Burrito, don't forget about that, but this is a rematch of the ages.
It certainly is, and with G2 and Envy having such a storied history between them, not just from this land, but previous lands now, as well as the online series, I mean, I'm just looking forward to seeing these two kind of go head-to-head. This is G2's chance of redemption right here, but it's Envy's chance to once again run the losers bracket and see if they can kind of power all the way through to come out on top again.
And this is something you gotta favor Envy because they just did it in Vegas. This whole month started off in a Vegas land, which was very fun for the boys who haven't gone there before. And if they did, on the side of Team Envy, they ran through this epic losers bracket final that actually ended up getting them the win over Fnatic. And so this is a huge opportunity for them to continue. One team's going home today. One team is moving forward. And I think, I mean, if I'm looking at this right now, I have a good feeling about G2. And let me hold off on this and just tell you why. I think that they have let go of everything. I honestly think G2 are just coming here.
Just kind of throwing it to the wind and going,
literally throwing it to the wind, man.
This didn't work. This didn't work.
What do you feel about this? Do you think Envy I mean, Envy look clinical. They look great. I wouldn't be surprised if they won, but I'm just getting a feeling.
Envy look measured. G2 are unpredictable for me right now because, sure, they're drafting towards comfort picks, but you don't know how they're going to play them. They've kind of, again, thrown caution to the wind, going, well, let's do or die for us here.
Yeah.
We've had to change something. We've had to refine our identity, and I think they forged a stronger one from what we saw yesterday.
Well, I mean, forging is something that's very popular in Realm Royale.
There is no Barrack right now, and it is popular in Realm Royale, but So are chickens.
Or
There is
chickens.
no pip.
Well, hopefully don't get. There is no pip. You're right. That's banned out. So chickens won't be the main course, at least in this
This
one.
is
Maybe.
possibly the most awkward segue I've ever done, but we saw actually during the drafting phase that last-minute swap to Maldama instead of the pip. A primarily comfort zone draft for the whole of G2, and then they go away from what's been such a staple pick for them for so long. That's the bit which is concerning here for me, at least not in terms of G2. This is concerning for Envy, I think, quite honestly, because they go, oh, this is different from what we might be expecting, and I think that Dread Serpent could be very impactful at dealing with maybe a Bomb King if they try and get a bit of flanking going.
Well, we're going to take a look at these legendaries, or talents as they are now called. It's hard to switch it up after a couple years, but great build from Khan. I actually like Into the Breach a lot. I'm going to be experimenting with some other cards. Khan has a buff in OB71-ish that you guys would be playing right now if you're playing Paladins Live. But here,
1.01B.
he is doing a great job of just moving his teammates faster, giving them that CC immunity and the damage amp as well, only to the weapons as we found, and the shield goes up. And he's already into the breach here, into the back line of G2.
You know, the thing I love about this card, Into the Breach, as well, is the fact that whilst you've got immunity frames, when you're using your Battle Shout on Khan, you just get to kind of stand in front of people and you can quickly maneuver to body block very well. But so far, that is may have forced out very significantly. Team Envy take the high ground here initially and actually force Wardoom down. This is really good for Rock Monkey, who's playing the Cassie right now.
Really good damage as well. Wardoom has to be careful. Rock Monkey has his burst available again. Last shot. And this could be dead by drop bodies. It almost is. Watch that. He just decides to back off here. Random Noob controlling this backside, and Team Envy have 81% already. Vox, somebody's got to get on the point, but doesn't look likely with Rock Monkey taking first blood.
And that's just the power of this Impulse Cassie right now. You can deliver so much burst with just peeking very, very quickly. And Rock Monkey, again, dodge rolls backwards. Somebody's got to get on the point. It's going to be Dozos, but Dozos is very low, resets, and dies to Random Noob TV.
Not sure what the timing was there. It didn't really work out, but Evil Eye trying to take down Random Noob. They made a move, and they decided to make it late. It worked for a second to extend the fight, but Random Noob had too much control. Evil Eye never really got going there. He was poked out by the Bomb King, and that's just the power of somebody who could play a dominant blaster.
You know, we actually saw in the sets yesterday, I think, versus Kanga, the value of picking a Cassie versus the Maeve, because this Impulse Cassie has the ability to really blow up that small health pool flanker. Even with the damage reduction the Maeve has, you just fire 2 shots or your weapon shot, and then alongside that your blast shot, and she's half health and forced out the fight. And that in combination with the sheer amount of bot potential that Bomb King brings is just very, very dangerous. And here we go, Khan Battle Shout enabled. Dozup's getting stacked up with sticky bombs. Will they get stunned? No, able to escape, but Drop Bodies now is being peppered from range.
I mean, dude, he's losing the poke battle to a Bomb King. This is a Kinessa. This is a long-range champion. This is where she should be shining right now. Random Noob TV is just, all right, sticky, 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 and he's making it work. It's looking very, very good for the side of Envy here. Random Noob finds yet another one in 1 minute and 30 seconds. Off the mark is the through time and space from Mr. Hayes, but it looks like Evil Eye is still falling low, finally finding a kill with Drop Bodies.
Oh, beautiful play from Wardium right there. Drops in Immortal midair to make sure that they are CC and damage immune to be able to keep their team alive against that King Bomb and contest the time being. Respawns are coming through, and with 1 minute and 11 seconds left on the clock, Team Envy are being forced back. They've just used 2 of their ultimates. They have the Scout available still, the Seismic Crash, and Khan's Overpower, and that could quickly deal with a member like Fernando if the positioning from Khan is good.
Could be quite overpowering indeed. With 56 seconds, they don't really have too much time to make decisions. This is where you look at ultimates. Do you commit or do you hold on to them? Team Envy have the Cassie Scout, better used most likely either for the CC immunity, but right now Wardoom doesn't have any of that. He gets thrown off the map. Thank you to Khan as he just deletes the front line on G2.
That's just the danger of playing around that side of the map. Beautiful Eli headshots do come through, but again, nobody's on the payload. Rock Monkey has found a double kill. Team Envy pushed successfully. Evan, this is looking bad for G2 Esports right here. I'm not quite sure what they're doing, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't know if Random Noob died that round. I actually don't think he did.
We'll have to take a look at KDAs once we come through from the replays, folks. As you can see, Random Noob just tearing enemies down right now. Multiple double kills in that fight, just doing so much work. Beautiful Poppy as well to evade the Maeve pounce. Really good reaction time from Random Noob being able to double F that unless they've got maybe a jolt in their loadout for those quick reactions. But the one thing that I'm noticing from G2 specifically is Random Noob did actually end up dying just the once. Tolki and Rock Monkey neither dying at all there, is the fact that G2 Esports positioning is very strange. They're on the high ground, they have the elevation, great versus the Cassie, great versus the Bomb King, and then they drop down. They don't get on the objective, they let the Inara free cap it for so long, but they don't also deal with the backline of Team Envy. They have Dozups in very strange positions on the Ruckus as well, and it's just not effective currently. But now they have the opportunity to maybe go for a pincer flank.
And at this point, we have to get this fight started. There's a lot to break down there, Vox, but Rock Monkey if he doesn't die this entire game, it is going to be a problem. 15% for G2. There's the Midnight as well, and there's the Scout to counteract it. Evil Eye getting poked out as well, and Tolkien goes right back to the point where he's been staying.
Evil Eye is looking for somebody in the backline right now. They're trying to find a little bit of poke damage to bring somebody down low to make use of the Street Justice talent which they're running. And you can see that pounce to relocate. Evil Eye is looking maybe for random noob here, but it's been spotted out so early. They're ineffective in the fight.
There's a Hexifier as well, bringing out the big guns, but is it enough? Still no kills for Dosips, getting healed up by the Gord from Moldava. And look at Tolkien hiding in the corner. They want Mr. Hayes. That's the healing. That's the Luminary. I think he's going to get him. Oh, no. What a dodge. There's the Rockets that end the barrage of just staying alive. Mr. Hayes has been able to pull off in this round, and now G2 Esports maybe with a little something here.
That's really significant because Tolkien now could be burst down and burnt down, but it's just not happening. Here comes Eagle Eye from Eyedrop Bodies as well, looking for damage onto somebody on the front line, but not finding those squishy picks, which you really need to as Kinessa.
I mean, Wardoom's hiding right here, Vox, but he's not getting much done. He's just holding this corner, but for what? For what purpose? Evil Eye is just slowly dying. So is he. Rock Monkey is happy as can be as he just lets Tolkien sit on the objective. Wardoom is just a day late and a dollar short, as I always say, and a through time and space from Mr. Hayes off the mark, but it doesn't mean that Dosips is going to make it out alive.
Dozops is dead as a dodo right here, and Eyedrop Body's the only one left who can contest, but nobody does step onto the objective, as that would be just a suicidal play. Team Envy got 3-0 in 6 minutes and 20 seconds, Evan. This is looking like the Team Envy we saw at Vegas, and the G2, unfortunately, we saw a couple of days ago.
That's true. We were wondering, what G2 is going to show up today. Which version of themselves? Will Cuss stand up out of his chair? What kind of trash talk is happening, if any? But right now, we're not seeing much of an identity yet. And again, this is a little bit worrisome for me. Envy, however, looking so polished. Rock Monkey playing out of his mind yet again. I think only dying once this entire game. That's a problem.
A big part of the reason I think that we're not seeing this real identity from G2 come through is that their damage picks just aren't being enabled very well. Hold that thought, though. Here comes a Dread Step on Rubu, very low.
Yeah, and that's good. Evil Eye finds the kill onto Mr. Hayes as well in the back line. No healing, and Rock Monkey just winning this duel. Evil Eye and him trade out. Luckily, Eyedrop Body's starting to get going, and they need a lot from this sniper.
That's really been the big issue so far this game that I'm seeing, is that Eyedrop Bodies just isn't finding much pressure because he's being locked off so significantly by a Cassie, who also is having a damage buff coming through from Luminary, having a damage buff coming through from Khan, alternating those two very, very well, and can't do much to Inara on the objective either. She just hides behind an impasse, and then you can't shoot her.
There's no doubt about that, man. I mean, you look at Dread Serpent immuning some of those abilities to just get that fear in an AoE because of the Khan shout. There's a lot that's going into this that's maybe unspoken as far as the damage, and this is the same exact thing. You gotta be aware. He's looking to throw off Dosips. They find the kill yet again. Evil Eye has to use his 9 lives and just get out of there, so he gets back to base, but right now it's really only Wardoom trying to hold this defense down.
And Wardoom is doing a very good job at keeping Rock Monkey in bay. The problem is Wardoom's focus is now split, throwing up the shield in the corner, needs a heal so badly. Tolkien just walks into them, though, and the Water's Field does all the damage.
Dude, but he bought so much time. I mean, the fact that they lose Cuscuti, though, is really tough. Here's a King Bomb as well. Dosips gets hit with the through time and space, but he's got a Hexifier. That's a kill. Team Envy gonna take this one, and you can see him, random noob, ecstatic for his teammates. Waving is Rubu, and this time Paul doesn't calm him down. He's like, all right, you can wave.
And well-deserved. Honestly, this looked like, as you said, Envy would be the more clinical team going into this, and Envy executed that game phenomenally.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it going, what was going wrong with G2? What was going wrong for G2? Honestly, it just feels like the champion picks that they had were harder to execute than Envy's, whereas with Cassie, you kind of just have your point-and-click adventure. With Bomb King, you're able to deal damage in an AoE. You can poke down Mei from a distance, for example. Kinessa has got to be so precise to be able to be utilized so well. You've got to have these long-range angles, which Envy played magnificently around and avoided the entire time to avoid giving up that vulnerability towards G2.
Yeah, and I think, Envy at this point have to say that we are looking good. We feel good about today. They've got to make a run here. So you have to come through with that confidence. G2 Esports really looking themselves. We'll have to see if things change in Game 2.
So my Penguin has flown south for the winter, or whatever Penguins do.
It's too warm for a darn Penguin.
God dang it, Bobby. I hold Shift, thankfully, back with me here on the desk. And what are your thoughts on that fairly swift game number 1?
Here's the beauty of how you can tell Envy is getting better. The way that they set up in that keep side was absolutely perfect. You have Khan up front, you have Cassie right there to zone things up, so Random Noob can sit a little bit further back on the platforms and just free fire bombs. Kinessa's got no line of sight, and to be completely honest, that is not an area where Maeve says, I'm going to dive through this window into 3 people and be successful. That's just a really good way of outplaying your opponent based on the comps and positioning.
Yeah, seems good. Seems good. But I want to get your thoughts now on just the mentality and I think the approach to this set. When we were watching the interview with Cuskey and G2 seeming like they're flying by the seat of their pants a little bit, and I don't know how well that's going to work in a best of 3, A, and B, against Team Envy, that are a team that will just dissect everything they can to get themselves the slightest edge. Anything they can do to get ahead in the set, they will do.
Well, here's the thing. We're dealing with the top 6 teams in the spring split here, flat out, in the world. And when you're going off your whole tournament saying, throw caution into the wind and just let's see what happens, which it kind of feels like talking to them. You know, that last interview, they were like, no, we actually have a game plan. I don't think they really actually have a game plan based on how the mentality has looked, how they have been talking to each other, how they've been talking to us when they're not playing. It just kind of seems like, let's just hope that we have somebody really have a big moment and that can turn the tide. And at that moment, we didn't see anything.
Arguably the MVP of Las Vegas, Rock Monkey, stepped up at that event, had an amazing showing, as well as just got a lot of clout.
Yeah.
Got a big reputation, but has stayed humble, I think, through the ups and the downs. For me, frankly, up until, I don't know, arguably this point, has been a little bit quiet this event. And maybe it's because people are just targeting him out. They know he's the key to Envy's success. I don't know. What do you think?
I think a lot of it is just we're seeing the big win factors come out of characters like Drogoz, Bomb King, and Maeve. We're not seeing the same things from normal. Like, his Shaolin at Vegas was absolutely insane, and we're just not seeing that kind of style of impact as much here, I think, simply because of the heavy investment into things like flankers and blasters. But that time through, his ability to counter out the Maeve specifically, hit those mid-air shots, that's where you start to see that star-studded power. But sometimes, as a Cassie specifically, you don't see all those moments pop up in the kill feed. So it's one of those things that if we're not specifically watching him, sometimes he kind of gets pushed to the side. But it's not that way at all. His damage numbers have been very consistent all through the tournament.
That's how Cassie always feels
is,
to me.
yeah.
I'm like, what's this Cassie doing? And it's just like, top damage. That's what she's doing, idiot. Frog Isle, that's going to be game number 2. Potentially could be the last game of this set if Envious continue the dominance that they've shown so far. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been a couple of Cassies in Shaolin, like Chronix, for instance.
Right.
That game 3, the Kanga set was incredible from him. There have been moments for Cassie in Shaolin. But I tend to agree with you that the flankers, things that people aren't prepared for, the high burst damage, has been king at this event. Envy have first pick this time around on Frogger. Remember, Stonekeep was G2's map pick.
And you had mentioned in the last draft the interesting of just banning away the Drogoz there felt really strange. I'm wondering if G2 just kind of goes with something a little bit more traditional in the sense of what we've seen through this tournament so far.
Yeah.
Cassie being taken away. Obviously, we just mentioned how Rock Monkey was able to do so successful with her that last map. You don't want to see that again. But when the front lines get banned out, I think that's where G2 starts to panic a little bit on the damage side of things. You know, okay, well, this is being played right now, so let's pick it. And the Maeve, like as you mentioned, didn't really go all that well for them last game. Kanessa didn't have the same line of sights, and Envy's not going to even bother pulling out any scopes here. So G2's going to have to find a way to have a star-studded performance with Evil Eye, likely on a Drogoz or something like that, or potentially, as we mentioned, that Shaolin that's been kind of a quiet but yet stable pickup.
It's pretty tough for G2 in the draft right now. And again, I want to reiterate that I don't really have any problems with what they drafted last game. I think last game was decided by a lot of what you talked about and just how the game was played. Because looking at those drafts, I was really kind of star-studded across the board for both squads. Envy will hover and lock the Maeve first. And I'm not upset at that either because I think Random Noob has had the best Maeve of this tournament.
Yeah, and you also have to keep in mind the fact that, as we've seen, Maeve is just so good in so many different ways. Not only on to be able to flank in the back line, but to burst down the big frontliners. And what do we have a lot of after the bans? A lot of big frontliners are still left. So that's a really smart pickup. And this is interesting, too. Maeve is not exactly the best, but definitely not the worst when it comes to countering out the Drogoz. So it's definitely a character you look at that says you can get up in the air and really counter out that Drogoz if he does show himself. So that's an interesting choice early on for G2 for me.
For me, less of the matchup, but more of the Random Noobs on this Maeve. Why do you feel pressure to pick the Drogoz so early?
Yeah, that's a really strong point. I mean, Evil Eye, again, we haven't really seen a lot.
There's no timeline where anyone from Envious is flexing onto this Drogoz, and they're picking this up.
Yeah.
A little strange.
It's very bizarre for sure. But the Inara Maldama pickup, we've already talked so much about why this pairing is good. And you shake your head a little bit. This is just 3 solid top-tier picks for Envy, and we'll to see. I mean, again, it comes down to what does G2 synergize the front line with these backline damage dealers, because
I'm surprised Ruckus is still alive in the draft, to be quite honest with you. But again, I think G2, maybe dodging a bullet there that's still alive. It's been a really, really comfortable pick for Dosups. But that's not the most important thing for one of the most flexible players in North America. It's just good that they're going to have this same front line here. And again, got to reiterate, not a problem with these two frontliners. I think it's more of coming down to how they're approaching and the way that G2 are playing these compositions that led to that failure in game number 1.
Yeah, so the Bomb King is likely going to be the counter out just to get this going. And this is, again, a really solid draft for Envy. But as you mentioned, you can't just not pick Ruckus. You have to take him at some point in time. You definitely don't want him to go back to Envy as their final pick in the draft. That would be absolutely insane to even consider. So again, I think this is Envy drafting really well. I mean, they've had a good response to literally everything that's come out so far. You hold the Bomb King for this 4th overall pick for them, and it's in the face of a good counter for the front line of Ruckus and Fernando. The Grover is an interesting choice. I think I like it just simply because, again, it does have the potential of stopping the Maeve dead in her tracks if you can hit a crippling axe.
There's no inbuilt anti-heal, there's no kinetics, there's no brand, there's no decrepify on this envious roster, so I think the Grover heals will be pretty impactful early on. I do like what Envy have done with this last pick con as well. This is a very hard-to-kill composition in terms of just raw HP, damage reduction with Inara, Maeve just being so slippery innately.
Yeah, and now that we're starting to see, and we were talking with the Penguin earlier about their preference of con, maybe this is the answer that we just need to see more of, is the con, whether you're with the Maeve or against the Maeve, or if there's no Maeve at all. Maybe the con is what's going to be the big kind of draft changer in this tournament as we finish up.
It was a huge win condition for Na'Vi in their last game on Frog Isle. Casters potentially take us home for the last time this set.
Well, G2 and Envy, we expect a good set here, and if I'm going to get what I want, my money's worth, I'm going to have G2 tie this one up just to send it to a best of 3. But Envy, honestly, if they won here, they would deserve it. They played lights out.
And their draft also for this Frog Isle game looks relatively impeccable. They've got everything they kind of want. The big question, I think, between us was, do they grab the Bomb King here? Do they go for a Xin, maybe a Buck, maybe a Lian as well, which might have honestly been a more valuable pick in post versus the Grover. But since not picked up, Grover becomes a bit more viable. G2 still have some win potential here. They've got some stuff like Hexafire, but
you know, the Grover's always a question mark for me. Despite not having those things like brand, it's very execution based. It's very execution heavy. It's very early game. You can see when those cauterized 3s come on, you run on a clock of whether that Grover will continue to work, and that's really the risk that they're taking on.
And especially considering that the composition that you've got has Ruckus as one of the front liners, you're already relying on that Fernando to kind of have a shield and jump around to make the shield as big as possible and block all the damage, block all the cauterize. Otherwise, that Efflorescence Grover just won't be doing quite as much.
I mean, I like that they have Immortal on it, Fernando, and I do like that they have the damage output from Hexafire, but the issue is, on a Stigala, who's fighting on the point and sustaining with a Dom, but on a Khan, who's got damage immunity, healing him himself, and a shield, and staying on the point, the flexibility to amp his teammates, this is very, very hard. We saw Na'Vi do this against Space Station the other day, where it was just like, this Khan isn't dying. We cannot kill this Khan. Mutsu is just flying around, he's getting a damage amp, getting a heal, and then it's just like, how long is this guy going to stay on the point?
Yeah, that Maeve is a really big question for me right now. That's the thing in Envy's draft that I'm looking at, is what is probably going to end up dismantling the roster of G2, because whilst you can say, sure, we can focus all of our efforts on the objective, we can burn down this Inara, all the while you've got a Maeve prowling around the backline looking for targets to just eliminate.
Oh yeah, and I think if she eliminates those targets the way that, you know, Evil Eye was unable to do, if she focuses down a Fernando, if she focuses down a Ruckus, both very susceptible to street justice.
And to be fair, she'll likely have the ability to, because I would expect the focus from G2 to either be on the objective, because they have to deal with this Inara and they have to deal with this Khan, or on the Maeve. And if they split it in 2 different directions, I don't think that G2 have enough damage to be able to deal with both of them at once.
Bigger question is, what's the win condition for G2 here? I mean, how do they get through? Is it if this Grover hits a lot of crippling axes? If the healing stays off? If he's a presence damage-wise as well as healing? Is that?
You know, I'm going back a little bit back to yesterday, going, what's G2's win condition? And going, do they have one here compared to Envy? And honestly, it just has to be impeccable play. You can't afford to not hit those crippling throws. You can't afford to not hit those withdraw impales and get the instant kill on certain targets. You have to be playing impeccably throughout the duration of this game if you're G2. If you let one thing slip, Envy will just roll over you because they have the safety net of Inara.
And I think that's the thing. The safety net of Inara. Khan can be, you know, doing his own thing. You could send the kids out after school, and you can have mom or dad stay home and guard the home base. And that's what Inara is doing. Ruckus or Fernando. The problem is when Fernando goes and plays offensive like Wardoom likes to do, Ruckus by himself on the point, that's not going to really work.
Yeah, that's a really difficult thing to do. What I'm seeing is if Wardoom goes out and sort of plays aggressively, we'll need Doze Ups, I'm assuming, playing the Ruckus at this point, to be playing further back.
I think they all,
you have to like make some space around the point, right? Then bombard the objective, then move in.
I think you have to treat the point like it's lava. Do not stand on the point for a while. Let Inara stand there. Do your thing. Get poked. You have Ruckus. You have Fernando. You've got Brand. You've got Rocket Barrage. You can burst her down, and then you can have hopefully one of your damage dealers go in there and clean it up. But don't try to contest her. I mean, that's just playing to your weaknesses. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, the big thing as well is that GT doesn't really have much in the way of flank pressure right now, so it is a very big concern as to whether they'll be able to effectively deal with the backline damage coming through from Team Envy in their draft. Sure, the Maeve is more likely going to be in your backline, but you've also got this Bomb King to deal with, and that's a really big issue because Inara denies point well by herself.
Yeah.
Throw a Grumpy on top.
And let's talk about this too. You have a great kind of matchup with Inara going in, and trying to face off against a Khan who can just battle shout that and get CC muted. So much of the conversation has really been how Khan has developed as a second pick, as somebody who you put in with, probably the Barrack or him as that secondary front line. But what is there to counter on the side of G2 as much? Do you think you'll have the same type of effectiveness here? Because there's not a ton of hard CC.
Well, see, the main counter coming through from G2 for me personally is the fact that they want to capitalize using the Groverall Whirlwind more on Envy overcommitting. They want to maybe bait this big play out of Envy and then reset, heal up to full, maybe use an Immortal and Whirlwind in combo, effectively gain a second life for all of their teammates, and then just roll straight back on in.
Well, it's Frog Isle, and it's about to be game 2 here in a best of 3. These loser bracket games can be rough. There's no doubt about it. But at this point, we are hoping to see some fantastic action between these two North American teams. One's going home, and it might be G2 after this match.
Looking at the talents coming out on the screen so far, all relatively standard again. Efflorescence for Grover, Street Justice for Maeve. Notably, the one that I'm more interested in is Random Noob going with Royal Subjects for Bomb King. Not looking for that stack damage right here, just area denial again.
It's a little bit of an early salvo, but, he's expecting them to go to that side, and this is good. I love the Fusillade, but on this map, the way they play those edges, Combustible would have been an interesting choice. Obviously, respect whatever this man decides to do, and oh man, hits him with the Fire Spit, 1492, just about 20 damage away from cleaning up Rock Monkey.
Tolki is very low right now, has to retreat. Dozops picks up first blood onto Tolki. Ru bounces back, but Wardian finds Rubu as well. This is good for G2, starting things off. Can they hold?
Uh-oh, and he almost got Doseps there. Excuse me, I dropped bodies, though. Clever withdraw keeps him alive and not falling off the map, and I don't think Random Noob was even trying to do that. But the pressure from Doseps here has been phenomenal. He's almost cleaning up Rock Monkey, and G2 Esports are in control.
Have to reset G2 on the point. 45% and climbing currently. Team Envy need to find a way back in, but they've just lost Random Noob TV to Cuss Cutie's axe from Grover. They have to wait now for that respawn to come through.
Fox are playing this so well. This is exactly what we're talking about. Back up. Do not stand on the point. Don't try to contest this very much. They're all playing, most of them, away from the objective. Say, go stand there. We got a lot of damage for you. We got cripples for you. We got a Dragon Punch for you in just a second. If you don't hide away, and that's a big kill. Evil Eye takes down Rock Monkey, and the Dragon's in the sky.
Oh my goodness. Evil Eye finds a double kill, looking for the triple. Can't quite get the last rocket onto Inara, who is still alive, but instead focuses on Mr. Hayes, forces out the support. They go down. Evil Eye finds 3, and G2 Esports capture in 2 minutes and 30.
My. G2 have come back with vengeance in this game and have basically dominated this initial point fight. Rock Monkey getting his, what seems like, first kill of the match. And Evil Eye topping damage by about 8,000 already.
Looking strong here on the Fusillade Drogo so far. Definitely something which Team Envy need to pay a bit more in the way of respect to in the future. And we need to see some more focus on the Drogos, I think, moving forward from here. But who's the player that goes and tries to do that?
I mean, it's got to be Rock, right?
You'd think so, but Rock Monkey's value really comes from the ability to decimate frontline. Here comes the seismic crash, though. Team Envy are going aggressive on defense on this Teeter-Totter map.
And look at this, again, making it away with 100 health. And if you talk about how he's done that so many times, maybe we could take a quick look at Rock Monkey's loadout here. He is retreating, but I think it has to do with some of the cards that he's running. He actually is not. He's running Street Cred. So this is really being the difference here. Running those health cards, just for anyone who's watching, extremely potent in these high-level plays where inches matter.
Just because it synergizes as well really well with the persistence and sixth sense at level 5 in both of these cards. You take 30% less damage when below 40% health, and if you're chaining together your pounces, not just for damage but also for mobility, you're sort of preloading this extra 30% damage reduction onto you. Anyway, Rock Monkey is looking for Drogos here. Turns the attention to Dozops. Oh no, the Shaolin soaked the pounce.
I can't believe it, and he actually gets not a lot of value from that. Here's the Hex
Hexafire in return. It was just an unlucky circumstance for Rock. Really lucky circumstance. Dosip stays alive, and they don't delete that front line. So, you know, sometimes the stealth really does pay off here. iDropBody's getting a kill on a random noob, and G2 have turned this around. This is going to be a full wipe for Envy.
Oh no, Dozop finds 2 in a row. Evil Eye looking for blood. Rubu forced back to base right now as they have no support besides, well, just the support, and that's not enough to dissuade a flaming Drogos. Dragon Punch is ready as well. Could be used for conversion here, but it's so close. This payload's going through. Nobody's stepping into contest, Evan.
I don't know. Dragon Punch, do you go for it? Do you opt in? Do you give it all you've got? The throw coming through from Cuss. We haven't seen him a lot this game, but this Grover is staying alive. He's been important for this squad. The healing needs to come through now for Dosips, and he's low, but there's the Efflorescence giving him the answer that he needs to just stay a little bit longer. There's a cripple onto Rubu, and iDropBodies is still alive, fragging out.
Really important work coming through here from Cutie so far to, again, keep the team alive. Wardoom did actually end up using Immortal, though, and now it's Team Envy who've been able to restabilize here. Evil Eye finds a big kill, though, onto Random Noob TV. Wardoom still alive on the front line. Dragon Punch could be used here to convert, but Salvo is charged and ready. Khan goes down.
God, you dig it. Let's see if Evil Eye can make something happen, but I think it's not going to be a miracle today. Nope, they're going to hold off and play it safe. G2 Esports come out swinging, but they don't get much for their troubles aside from a point and 300 extra credits and a little bit of morale.
You know, if I had to describe that last part of the conversion there, the payload push for G2, I'd say it was hesitation, which really sort of speaks to me in volumes.
Yeah.
They could have hit the gas pedal. They could have used the Dragon Punch. They could have used the Immortal more aggressively, but instead they chose to try and get it through with just their base abilities and then ended up using ultimates to stay alive. It's commit to one or commit to the other.
What do you feel about that? I mean, would you have rather just seen the full ultimate usage there?
It feels wishy-washy. I'd say if you're going to go for the ultimates, go for the ultimates, and then at least you can bait something out of Envy in response and play on a neutral field again, which G2 succeeded with at the start of the round.
I agree.
Or you don't commit to any ultimates at all, and you don't end up going into this next round without your Immortal.
The only reason I agree there is because we've seen it so much with Fnatic and Navi. They commit ultimates there almost every single time, and it works so well. I love this area, and there's not a lot of long-range poke except for the Maeve, and at this point, if she's staying back there, you're good. You're like, you build street justice. If you're going to stay 100 yards away from me, I'm okay with that.
Bomb King coming in now. King Bomb in combination with Midnight. Dangerous. Could be fatal here, but Random Noob gets forced away.
This is a commit. This is a big commit right here. Oh, he's backing off. I thought he was going to go in, and here's the seismic crash as well. There's the whirlwind from Grover. He's going to stay alive, stay CC immune, and keep healing everybody as the Hexafire comes through. Rock Monkey's getting low, and Wardoom picks him up. Evil Eye has the salvo ready, but he uses it, and it doesn't find a kill. He goes down.
Really big work there from G2, though, to be able to synergize those ultimates all together. iDropBodies finds another snapshot onto Rock Monkey as well on Random Noob TV. In a lot of trouble here. One more shot will do it. All right, another one, and Bodies gets the kill.
At the patience, though, I mean, look at that play. This is not reminding me of the way that I've seen Rock play Shaw. The way that I've just seen Bugsy play Shaw, it's a little bit more, okay, get a kill immediately, clinical, go back to my business, like a surgeon, so to speak. iDropBodies doesn't look as comfortable, but he's doing a great job of positioning and finding the right targets, being in the right places. Overall, G2 are very happy with this play right now in this game.
I feel like iDropBodies as well on the Shaolin, rather than, you know, playing super aggressively as a lot of Shaolins has, as you've just described, by waiting, they're able to get more surprise shots off. Nobody really expects the Shaolin to kind of be ready and waiting in your backline already. Nobody expects that 1,000 damage burst coming through, so Bodies finding some kill security in these engagements, which was lacking in the previous game.
It really was, and I think that's where he needs to be for this team. On the Kinessa, on the Buck, on the Shaolin, he has to be the guy that finishes kills. Evil Eye in this Drogos form is going to poke them low. But let's see what he could do. They're actually bursting down Rubu as a result of either the Commander's grab trying to hold up and finish Dosips. It will end up turning the way of Envy for now and force G2 back a little bit, having lost their front line. Rock Monkey with a double, and this is where Evil Eye should just commit, reset. That's something that we saw, I think, not very good about the way that Space Station was playing yesterday. It didn't reset very often.
No, and that's something which only really starts to come in with high-level players, when you can kind of read the composition and read how the fight is going just based off a lot of allied health bars. And you go, okay, well, our overall health is below 50%. We can't come back from this. Just everybody off the map, everybody reset, come back in, and hey, maybe Envy will overextend on defense. Maybe we can catch them out.
That's where you really get the value of resetting. You pull away, everyone does it, and then they try to extend, and then you're like, wait a second, we get one easy pick here. Now it's a 5v4 4. We're full health, and we can really get the momentum for this push. Seismic crash again from Toki. It's Envy the one who are committing ultimates, and you know why? Because they are under pressure. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, and Random Noob, he's just getting away with one sliver of life, but Rock Monkey goes down to the bow. Double kill for Eyedrop Bodies.
Evil Eye looking to take over here now as well. Finds the Inara, sees the Inara, deletes the Inara. These Fuselage shots are even swinging through Earthen Guard. Random Noob as well gets obliterated by Eyedrop Bodies. This conversion could be going through because, again, Envy are held in base. They have respawns coming, Evan. Can they hold?
This is a new G2 right here. Such a change, just a difference with this Drogos, but just in Game 2, Frog Isle was not necessarily a map you'd saying, yeah, I expect them to dominate Envy on. It's a good map for both these teams, but wow, they have really put together a lineup, and Envy are having a hard time dealing with this Dragon.
Rubu's in a lot of trouble
Big
here.
shot.
Bodies finds Random Noob. That's a really big one. Goes
Go
into
for it.
the withdrawal
Got
as well.
him.
Gets the double onto Mr. Hayes.
Oh my god, and there's the reset as well. Is that Bullseye or is that Shimmer? Either way, there's a glimmer in his eye, as that's a 2-point push for G2 Esports. They are 3-1, and Team Envy now on the back foot here, almost letting this set get tied up.
This is Rock Monkey's defensive play. This was the really turning point initially in the payload push, where Team Envy were just able to find some long-range daggers here, pick up a couple of kills. There we go, Pounce to relocate, and Evil Eye goes down as well. But then again, Envy extend, G2 come back in, and they get forced back because they don't have the defensive positioning which they need to be able to hold too well.
You know, Vox, I mean, the way that Rock's playing that Maeve reminds me more of a cat burglar style. He's really not in the thick of things very often, the way that we see kind of the Vanguard midfielder type play when Random Noob picks up this chip.
It's very different, and it's interesting to see these different Maeve identities come through, and you do wonder what the value of actually having this flexibility is within your roster. Is it better to maybe bamboozle your opponent here and make them play against something they're not used to? And this more precise sniping Maeve certainly does come into play, but here we go. Overpower, Wardoom stays alive.
Look at that, because he's got resilience, and it does buy just a little bit of time. You never know. Those inches could go a mile because it just makes everyone commit a little bit more than they wanted to finish off one character. It's going to be a good advantage, and there's a whirlwind from Cuss. Very preemptive, just to make sure no one gets too low and can still keep poking out Toki on the point, who's got to stay away now.
I'm not entirely sure that whirlwind was necessary, but it does allow Dozup's to position in here. Evil Eye tries to take over as the impasse did block off a lot of the big gun's damage. Now activates Dragon Punch, looking for somebody. Can they find the Inara? Toki goes down. Could this be a double? Dozups cleans up as well.
Evil Eye is going crazy. This Dragon is unstoppable right now, and so is Eyedrop Bodies. Let's just say he has been fantastic, and Cuss Cutie on a 12 streak with this Grover. I want to see some healing charts because this man is keeping his team alive.
It's such good work as well. The efflorescence, you can bet that there are also some rejuvenates there in the itemization as well. Midnight does come through from Maeve. Team Envy look for the retake. 84% so far for G2 Esports. And they do bend, but not break.
Doing a great job keeping up with this Maldamba, especially with Inara on the side of Team Envy. Here's a King Bomb. This could be everything for Random Noob. He's got to get his team back in this. Envy are trying to go 2-0 and move on to the next round. Great stun there onto Doceps. Rock Monkey finds the kill, and now Tolki is there with a good Warner's Field.
Rock Monkey needs to find more than just one here, though. Nice impasse to block off some incoming damage, but Eyedrop Body's positioning is pinning everybody into a corner on this objective. Overtime is ticking, 99% for Team Envy. Now it's up to G2. Can they find a way back in? They have Immortal and Dragon Punch, and both are activated.
And there's the Immortal, like you said. That Dragon's not dying just yet. Great Commander's grab, but he throws him into the pathway of Mr. Hayes in a whirlwind to save the day from Cuss Cutie. Keeps Evil Eye alive. I think this is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. G2 Esports, I think they just took Game 2. Random Noob falling at the end, but it's the G2 Esports who are climbing up to tie this set up.
What a difference that previous game. A few adjustments in terms of composition, better ult utilization. The synergy this time around was like glue rather than like gravy. And that's the kind of G2 which I was expecting. That's the kind of G2 that I want to see.
Man, you ever like had someone give you some glue and instead it was actually gravy? Is that experience you had?
Occasionally. We don't talk about growing up in mid-Wales in high school.
Oh no, I feel really, really sorry for how you grew up, man. But I mean, if it was Thanksgiving, I would be okay with that. I'd be like, who cares, man? Now I got some extra gravy for my turkey.
Hey, maybe we could be making some food sculptures here as well.
It's
possible. Bit of mashed potato, bit of gravy.
I'm an expert at macaroni art. I will say that.
Excellent stuff. But G2 as well, performing excellently throughout that game. I really want to hear what everybody else's thoughts are on this, but for me, Cuss Cutie's whirlwinds were critical.
They really were, and they were preemptive. They weren't in response, because that's when Cauterize gets you when you're low. He did it at the beginning of these rounds and really kept the pressure up for G2. Really excited about this, and we're going to Game 3. Well,
They asked, and G2 provided. Game 3 for us here. We've got ourselves a set. G2 do what they haven't done great this tournament. Bounce back.
Bounce back. That's the best way of putting it, without a doubt, simply because, again, that was a very staggering loss on Stonekeep to start. But the big stat line for me, again, it always comes down to the assist, but look at the difference in the healing that came out. It's actually staggering because it's Envy who wins that battle out front, but the Grover has been monumental in so many different ways, and G2 more than anybody else has looked the best while using this Grover. In that last fight specifically, I have no idea how Evil Eye stays alive and all that. All of a sudden, there's 1,200 healed there, there's 400 here. It's just coming out of nowhere.
He gets full healed twice.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He has 3 lives in that engagement. His second Dragon Punch of the fight as well. Simply too much pressure for Envious to deal with. And that's something that's always been a very strong asset for G2, is the way that they play around. They realize that we have a different healer. We have a Grover. We have a Pip. We have to play around this a little bit differently as a team to make this better.
And the ability for them to cognitively understand that, specifically Evil Eye in that last fight, is so key. He's hitting these Dragon Punches. He's triggering them from the low ground, not the high ground. That's actually huge because he can break line of sight, let that cauterize fade. Well, look at this. This is good positioning for this. He's able to keep himself out of any direct damage spots from that Mave, also from the Bomb King. He comes in, finds himself a big pickup, and it was over and over again. The Bomb King kept falling, and that's just a free backline every single time that Evil Eye is able to get that Dragon Punch off and then thrust into the backline. Again, this is just absolutely brilliant trigger of the Dragon Punch to stay safe and secure yourself a for sure kill.
Getting out so many times more often than not. He goes down here, but it's because of that decision to dive a little bit deeper to get an additional pick. He trades 2 for 1 there. It's got to be worth it. And then this. So he gets to Sonara, low HP, gets topped up from the Whirlwind, gets smacked again, but gets another big heal from Cuscuity. He lives 3 lives, and even if you don't make it all the way out of those engagements, which, by the way, he did, it's still worth it because, oh my god, we had to kill him. And then we had to kill him again. And then we had to kill him again. You're buying so many time cooldowns, resources, things from your opponents that they would rather be spending elsewhere.
Absolutely. And on top of that, not just Evil Eye getting out, but also there were a couple of absolutely brilliant vines from Grover, from Played by Cuss, to make sure that he survived.
Yeah.
If you can keep that up and you can keep yourself to where you can allow your damage dealers to come back and peel, which I Drop Bodies did so well. I mean, look at this. This is a free Bomb King in the back line simply because of everyone else had already dealt the damage and backed up. It's just he sneaks around so many different areas using that withdraw. He's really good at positioning himself. And again, the Mave, this is 2 games in a row now that the Mave has been almost completely shut down.
What an event for Drop Bodies. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal on a lot of different stuff as well. And just having the ability and the vision maybe. And when I talk about the coordination for how to play around these healers, this Grover, how to group up for Pip, that type of stuff, it definitely applies to the front line, not always for the DPS of G2. Sometimes those guys just get off the leash and they just run it in the back line, but sometimes that's what you need to have that bounce back. You got to show them that, you know, we're down, but we're not out. We're going to come back. We're going to punch you just as hard as you hit us in game 1.
Absolutely. Now we're just sitting with a last best of 1 here. You know, it's a best of 3 set, and everything is essentially nullified. You ask any of the players what their mindset is. All right, it goes 1-1. All right, it's just best of 1.
Yeah.
It's just nothing else matters except for this one game. You don't think about what happened when you were 4-0'd on Stonekeep. You don't think about that last successful game you had. You just go ahead, draft for this next map, and make sure you're in a position that you can just win it.
I think that applies definitely for Envious, and I'm glad that G2 are the ones that are coming off that win, because I think they would be weighing down on themselves a little bit more, especially when you are so close. I know it's a best of 3, so it's sure 1 win puts you in the spot to deal with your opponent, but they have to drive home now this best of 3. One of these teams is going to be going home at the end of this set, and I'm very excited to see who that is. It's been a really wild ride, I think, for both of these teams at this event. Envious and G2 having moments where they're not living up to their own standards, but I think Envious now playing a little bit different, that they have that pressure. They have that expectation from everyone from the scene to perform, because they were able to find that win in Vegas.
Yeah, it really comes down to, for me, when you look at their success in Vegas, their kind of staggering loss in the spring finals, and now how they're fighting for their life here in this tournament. It just goes, how consistent is Team Envy?
Sure.
Flat out. Are they going to be this perennial number 2, potentially number 1 team in North America? Or is it going to be, all right, they got themselves a really solid win. It was kind of a in-the-moment thing, and will the attrition kind of wear on them?
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned before we started the broadcast, we go straight into summer almost immediately after this. And we already heard from them about how this is a very different style of Paladins, simply because they haven't had the same amount of practice. They haven't had the same amount of kind of time to reflect. It's just all quick hit and go when it comes to these tournament games. And If they can continue to find the same type of success that they did in Vegas with that mojo, that running forward that they had, it's going to be really interesting to see what they can put together, not only to finish off this spring, but also as they move forward in the summer.
And I want to see a consistent North American team in making these finals, cracking these finals, because yes, G2 or then Cryptic win DreamHack Valencia, but it comes off the heel of just absolutely roster explosions in Europe, right? So that win becomes a little bit less sweet. And then on top of the fact you have absolutely horrible showings from Fnatic and Not Sincere in Vegas. Envious play amazing, take that set, but I want to see him do it again. I want to see him consistently do it and frankly convince these European teams that they are a threat to them.
And we haven't really seen it as of yet in the last, we'll say, 6 months. I mean, even back in Valencia where we did see Cryptic win, it was a surprise across everybody because the Chinese team came out of nowhere and surprised people, and Kanga was playing with fire. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. It would be nice to see someone from North America just show up and say, we're putting the work in, we're going to be consistent, and no one's going to take that from us.
To do it again, to crack the finals, that's what North America's had trouble doing, is cracking these finals consistently. And we're just about ready to get into game number 3, but before we do that, we got to draft some champions here, folks. Envious, we do need some champions to play some games. We gaming out here, in the words of Viral. I don't feel no pressure, baby. We gaming. Gassie's going to be gone off the board immediately. Envious with the first ban. This is the last game of the best of 3 here in the losers bracket between Envy and G2. We are on Jaguar Falls. Both teams have a map to their name and need one more to send the other home.
Last time we were here, it was Team Envy winning against G2 at a score of 4-1. And it was a Cassie ban first from them back then. So maybe we'll see some kind of specific strategy coming out of Envy, and this is actually what they banned. So they come out with the same 2 bans against G2 on this same map that they did in the spring finals. And the Shaolin Mave going away. Are we going to see some heavy front line? I like these games where there's not the big damage dealers and it's just raw big bodies going up against each other. That's just good fun.
The deep claims you. Envy lock in Makoa first. No frontliners banned at all. Probably one of the few, if at all, the only time no frontliners have been banned this event.
Yeah.
G2 have plenty to pick from now. Ruckus has been really strong for them. Inara's been strong for just about everyone. And Evan and I had this conversation. Curious to know your thoughts on Inara's best map, Bright Marsh or Jag?
It's tough because it really, for me, comes down to the positioning that she can toggle for, mostly based off her ability to juggle the impasse wall, which blocks off complete routes on both maps, and then the Warder's Field. I think that, man, it's tough. I think Bright Marsh is the stronger map because there's just more.
But then you see some of those walls on Jack Frost, and you're like, ooh, man, that wall just netted them 25% on the objective. And the Terminus locked in. Pip as well will be taken for Envy. Still a very flexible draft for Envy, to be quite frank with you. They can run this with Random Noob. They can put him as a damage utility Pip. And Mr. Hayes can also run this as a solo heal. And we know with Makoa, Terminus as the front line. That's a pretty beefy, stout stone wall for G2 to have to crack. They've got the Bomb King, and that's a nice explosive source for cracking a big bad front line. G2 look like they might be leaning a little bit towards 3 DPS, though, with the Geno Sin lock-in.
But can you let the Ruckus fall aside? Again, I don't see Envy picking it up. I don't see them running triple front by any stretch of the imagination. But
you probably could, because I think Ruckus is like the best frontline for Luminary.
Absolutely, and he's also one of those that you say frontline because he's categorized like that in the game, but his damage output usually is sitting in the top 2-3 at the end of the game.
Let's call it like it is.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And you know, Dosip still needs his pick. I think Doe is... Yeah, doesn't really have a lot more to go to. Shaw's banned out. Cassie's banned out. When he has been flexing on the DPS, that's what he's been taking. Damba and Droxus hovered for Team Envy. Why do you think the Andro here?
I don't know.
I don't see a reason.
I don't either.
Comfort?
In fact,
elimination? Win or go home? Is it time Rock Monkey just needs to be comfortable and shoot people in the face?
Nick, I'm nervous about this Andro pick. The last time we saw an Andro into a Xin, it didn't go well at all. And it's the Nando. So actually no Ruckus here. This is a very game-changing draft, I think, just in terms of the entire tournament. No front lines banned. Ruckus doesn't show up.
Ruckus unpicked, unbanned. Nando 10th. Weird.
Wow.
Weird. And the Andro is almost the sole win condition. Obviously, Makoa is Makoa. We got to remember that. Envious, they're a very prepared team. I think they've done their homework.
At this point, you're looking at Terminus Makoa double support. You're just looking to win the battle in the trenches if I'm Envy. Flat
Okay.
out.
Well, only one way to find out now, guys. Let's get in the game.
You know, this to me reminds me of a smile on Evil Eye's face that led to a 29-8 kind of performance on Ascension Keep with a Guillotine Zen. I don't know if he's going to go for it, but you've got a Terminus and Makoa Vox, two tanky, like big playmakers on this team. Do you think it's worthwhile?
I think it's very difficult to say that it's a great commit, because the problem that you run into is, sure, you can delete the Terminus, you can delete the Makoa, but Leviathan on Makoa with that CC immunity kind of makes the guillotine less useful. And looking at things now with an Undying Terminus, a Catalyst Pip, and a Yomi Zin coming through, I think the G2 Esports are playing this more traditionally.
Yeah, and it does seem to be that way. They're going to go for the strikes, and this is the patience. And you know what? G2 have the benefit of getting wrecked around this corner. And I think look at the difference between the way iDropBodies is playing this now. It was it's something that was very, very obvious once it happened again and again and again, but this time around, it seems to be Evil Eye taking the first blood here on a random noob.
Ooh, interesting pull onto Inara there. Not exactly the champion that you really want to pull through on these Royal Subjects. Sticky Bombs just hitting 2 players at once there, forcing everybody back as G2 take 54%.
I'm not sure why he doesn't go for Terminus back there. I mean, he was extremely low, but hey, they get what they came for anyways. Rock Monkey gets deleted, the Androxus not showing up. G2 Esports are 84% on the objective right now, Vox, and they just may, with this kill on Mr. Hayes, 100-0 this first point.
Oh, poor Random Noob. I don't think Random Noob actually saw iDropBodies sitting there on this in. I think iDropBodies was just waiting for the kill opportunity. The stagger is so significant, and G2 will get this cap for free in 1 minute and 50 seconds.
And I think this is probably the most dominant point they've had all tournament.
Looks like it. I mean, this is the best performance I've seen out of G2 for so long. They have just rolled their opposition, but not just that, they've managed their opponent's tempo purely by when they're getting kills here.
Is my man running Jolt? Can we take a look at this loadout real quick just to make sure? Because that was kind of a I'm running Jolt Poppy Bomb, but it was just to throw him off. And I like this. Even if you're not running Jolt, you can still get a little bit of distance, especially if Rubu's hugging that corner. Maybe knock him off, maybe throw him off, force a shell shield or a shell spin, rather, and put him in a bad spot in the next 7 seconds. But Evil Eye continues to forego that choice and have 1 minute and 50 seconds left on the push.
Big through time and space, or rather a relatively small one. Doesn't actually connect with anybody. Needs that follow-up firebomb from Wardoom as well, but G2 Esports right now, they're looking for a way to break the base. They are about to lose.
Oh, he got him! That was it! He did! He got him off the map with the Poppy Bomb, and that's going to change everything. Rubu goes into the drink, and now a King Bomb is ready. I think if they get Tolki here, this could be as good as a push.
Evil Eye's going to try and escape again, being pocketed by the Janus. All the while, iDropBodies looking for a flank here as Dozops and Wardoom are spearheading this push right now. Wardoom up in the enemy backline, keeping everybody in their base. iDropBodies setting up Yomi strikes as well.
That's big. He hit Random Noob off that. Now he has to go back, and the space they were going to grab right now is very, very tentative because they just don't have anything to do unless they commit their ultimates. There's the Accursed Arm. Rubu doesn't use the Ancient Rage. This is going to be a push from G2.
It just doesn't matter right now as Immortal blocks out all that incoming damage coming through from Team Envy. G2 Esports hold. iDropBodies finds Mr. Hayes. Tolki goes down. Will the reanimate be here? Is it usable? I don't think it's even available right now.
No, this is crazy. This is the most dominant start I've seen G2 have in a long time. And so he gets 1 kill there. And then against Rubu on the push, he gets another Poppy Bomb kill. And that's why you see him do it so often, because of the fact that he is getting kills off of it. He's got that in his memory box that's like, hey, this is working for me. That one a little bit luckier than the first, as he was just trying to get away as well.
More of an escape than anything else, but still value. I think that'll definitely... Tactical bop. And can we get a counter for that in chat, please? Somebody keep track of those for us.
Tactical.
Absolutely. It's really good niche little play from the Bomb King so far, and also sitting top of the damage charts is Evil Eye. 1 death across the board for G2 Esports. Evan, again, dominant is a word which I feel is overused in a lot of esports, but how else do you describe G2 right now?
Immaculate, tyrannical.
Pretty much. I mean,
unstoppable.
Majestical would be another word if we're looking at this Bomb King as well. And Evil Eye is setting up on the peripheral right-hand side of this push. Oh, don't show me the pop again. Oh, no, not again. Oh, my goodness.
Time.
Okay.
Rock Monkey hits the shots. He says, no, I'm not going to let you do that to me or my buddy. Again, Tolki on the point. And that looks like an Evil Mojo I just heard. Random Noob does find the kill onto Wardoom as a result of that. So G2 Esports definitely on the back foot here. Envy respond in kind and are probably setting up to 100-0 this one unless G2 can pull a miracle.
You know, so I mentioned previously, and hold that thought Actually, Rubu in a lot of danger here. Goes into Ancient Rage, and this is just going to buy time for Team Envy right now as G2 can't find a way in.
And you know what? Rubu not getting kills off of this, and he's got to get this hook. He has to land it, otherwise Cuss is going to get away. 99%, and he knows the fight is on the point, so the longer he stays off, the more chance that there is Tolkien might drop this with Random Noob not being able to find kills on his own. Mr. Hayes and Rock Monkey do grab clutch pickups, and Rock Monkey's able to snowball this if possible.
Look to thread the needle focus right now onto Evil Eye, but hold that thought. Cuss gets the jump onto Rock Monkey. That's not how that's meant to work, but still, Team Envy, they have that pocket heal from Pip. They do hold the objective right now, and they do at least get 1 point on capture, Evan, in 5 minutes and 23.
And I think this is a really good adjustment and the confident play. Rubu actually tread that line, because it's a really tough thing to Ancient Rage and then have your first target get away, to switch to another target, and then have that timer start to run out. Be like, okay, do I commit more? Do I really invest in this kill? Against the Genos in particular, and he makes a smart call. He goes back to the point and is able to help turn the tide there.
So critically right now, again, Team Envy, I talked about previously how the momentum had been entirely controlled. The tempo of the game was entirely set by G2 Esports. But once Team Envy get their ultimates online, they have a completely different methodology about how they change game tempo. And that's from the ultimates, the Accursed Arm, the Evil Mojo, the Dread Serpent. Big things, big disruption gardens right here. And we're looking for Random Noob to maybe find an opportunity to use that onto Wardoom, who's about to pop out of Immortal.
Bodies is doing a great job right now. I mean, Random Noob's really committed to killing him twice, and Bodies countered the first one. That was beautiful. And then at the second time, whirls away so that he gets out of line of sight. It's a really good kind of bait and switch so that you commit, you put yourself in a dangerous position. I'm still safe, although you thought I was dead to rights. Great stuff.
Part of the value of Zen, right? It's the survivability aspect that really comes into play. You've got that Luminary heal, which will just top you up during Billow, but Team Envy is still trying to find their way into the base right now. Rubu very low, doesn't have the Ancient Rage quite yet, 10% away right now, but that's an Evil Mojo to quickly end Wardoom's life.
Rock Monkey starting to get his hit scan on, and that is always a problem. If you've been watching Paladins over the last month, you know this man can aim. No doubt about it. 50 seconds left on the clock. Nice hook there as well. That's going to set up a kill on the Evil Eye, and Rock Monkey picks that up again.
45 seconds. Again, the payload just breaking the base right now. G2 Esports not grouped up enough to be able to formulate really a defense, and iDrop Body's being kept at arm's length by this pit currently. Beautiful spike comes through though, finds 1 kill into Rock Monkey, and that's a big thorn out of the side of G2, gone already.
And Cuss has to figure out, do I go for it through time and space here? But Random Noob is not letting him get away. Really big flank by the Pip there. What a masterful, masterful decision. Game sense-wise just shows how good this guy is. It's a 2-2. Envy and G2 now just playing for 2 points to who moves on and who goes home in this tournament.
With the exception of the spite there at the end though from G2, G2 kind of let that payload roll through. They recognized, I think, the fact that they couldn't hold it without committing ultimates.
Yeah.
And valued, I think, at this point, ultimates more on the objective than they do on the payload push.
Listen, man, next round, you know, comeback mechanic is something where if you're down by 2 points or 1 point, you capture faster. If they defend there and they invest their ultimates, it's setting up for a tough round against MV because they'll have that capture advantage, and on Jaguar Falls, that's tough to get around.
They have a capture boost. They also have the ability to, again, use these disruption ultimates. They have a fully charged Dread Serpent, a fully charged Evil Mojo, which can immediately just turn a fight on its head. G2 needs something to be able to counter that, and the bot potential coming through from King Bomb here, and the setup as well from Stone Spear, the Seismic Crash from Inara, is going to be critical.
The other thing, Moxie 5, big deal, but he misses. He whiffs the Evil Mojo. This is not what they wanted to see. The Power Siphon doesn't block the stun through time and space from Cuss. Off the mark. Now Evil Eye has a chance to redeem himself and his team. He's going to go for it. He's going to find it. Reanimate, most likely not going to be used now. He could throw the bombs there to just premeditate a reanimate, but it is going to be held on by Tolkien. Bodies has to stay alive here.
Evil Eye in a lot of trouble as well. This Makoa looking for him, but that double duo of damage right there will stop the Makoa in their tracks. Rubu forced back, 81% and climbing. G2 Esports, can they zone with the Inara wall?
And here's the big question. What happens here? The slow is
the body block
that he can't get back on, and even though he's got a pit with the burst heal, it's only 986. It's enough to take down Dosips with the help of Rock Monkey and Mr. Hayes with a very, very clutch Dread Serpent to buy some space and time for himself. Evil Eye goes down as well. And Team Envy, just like that, have turned it around in their favor.
That was such a clutch moment for Team Envy where they were just about able to touch on the objective. I think it was the Terminus just about getting on there. And then as well, you have Rock Monkey, the Androxus, coming in from behind whilst all efforts are focused on stopping the Stigala. You have this Androxus, this Godslayer, slip into your backline and start to take people apart.
This is a little risky here, but you know what? I think Envy have done it. What a great zone. They commit ultimates. They send all their members except Mr. Hayes out onto the front. And unfortunately, because I think of just the delayed kill on the Cutie and the amount of time it takes G2 Esports to get back together as 5, Envy are in prime position to win this set.
They have the opportunity to convert here, and we know they have the ability to do so with their ultimates after that amazing comeback in the previous capture. Evil Mojo already charged and ready. I'd like to see this used early, in all honesty. With the push having 2 minutes left, you can charge that again a full time before committal.
Yeah.
Just take a frontliner out of the fight immediately and break the base because you maintain tempo.
No doubt about it. And again, look at this. He's going for it. Vox, he took your advice. He heard you right there. The caster's curse works in his favor. Mr. Hayes finds a kill on the Doseps.
Half health as well. Headshot onto Evil Eye brings him very low. Tries to escape one more from Rock Monkey. Will at least keep that Cauterize applied for the time being. But the payload is being contested. And Wardoom is really, I think, one of the win conditions for G2 right now. He needs to play exceptionally and distract Rock Monkey in order for G2 to be able to hold on.
Well, a lot of this damage can't go on the Pip and the Terminus, right? They're just going to heal it back up themselves. But that's a big fireball. This type of line of sight for Wardoom is really important because if he can line a fireball up here, he can get so much damage onto the board. And here's the problem. Mr. Ace goes, he commits with the Dread Serpent, knowing they can get Wardoom, but he bops out. He's not going to die now. He's gone into the Immortal, and that's given him a chance to survive.
Eye drop bodies as well, drawing folks in the backline. King Bomb is committed from Team Envy right here, trying to find their way in. Tolkien has to reanimate. 1 minute on the clock, about to break the base. Elects not to use it. Wise decision. G2 Esports have a little bit of breathing room now.
And they have to get this Makoa down early. You know, this Ancient Rage will be committed, I think, if there's a chance to win. That's the way Envy feel. But at this point through time and space as well, something we didn't see used. We haven't seen it find kills. We saw in the Seismic Crash almost get it set up through Doseps, but Cutie, you gotta say this ultimate could turn the tide of this match right now.
This ultimate, if it finds the Androxus, G2 Esports probably defend here, and here it goes, but no, Rock Monkey just gets out of dodge in enough time, up into the air, triple net up comes through, a Cursed Armor is popped, Evil Eye is the target focus, 3 shots, slam home, and that is the Bomb King off the table.
And this just might be Team Envy trying to push it through. Eye drop bodies goes into the Billow, so he will stay alive. They have to worry about that. And that is a big, big moment as well. They've got the Evil Mojo, though, so how do you respond? No Immortal. You've got only the Zen Spike there. And there it is. 2 Sagala. One's down. The other falls. Team Envy only have Eye drop bodies to get through, and it looks like they might, but the Billow is here, and there's Evil Eye as well. Rock Monkey with a double. He's going to secure it. And Team Envy take down North Americans G2 and move on.
Envy, they're doing it again. They're running back the lower bracket.
They
and
are.
You can see in the way that they're drafting, the way they're playing, there's a lot of relief coming through. That was by no means an easy match, but after taking first game by storm, the second game being absolutely rolled by G2, they seem to have found what works for them, and that mid-set adaptation in a best of 3 has to come so fast.
Look at that disappointment, man. The conversation doesn't look very happy between Cuss and Wardoom. Definitely some miscommunications there.
And ultimately, it's a really difficult situation because Wardoom popped the Immortal on defense quite early when Dread Serpent was used to focus down. That was the committal. How much was that a solo Immortal versus I want to save my team off the back of this ultimate kind of thing? And that's a really big question we've got to ask because with Ancient Rage, Reanimate, Evil Mojo, all those things available, that Immortal might have been enough to stop the push right at the end.
I mean, they had a great push with Tolkien on the Terminus and, of course, Rubu on the Makoa. You let the Makoa go, you're like, oh, it's fine. And now all of a sudden you're like, man, we shouldn't have let them pick Makoa. At this point, though, it's Envy moving on. Great set, and that begins our day here at the Paladins Masters.
What a way to get it started.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I hope we see more of that because that was just flat out entertaining Paladins.
I could watch that set. I could watch that set all day.
Do you want to? Just pull up the VOD, just put it on a loop.
Yeah, let's run it back, dude. Let's go home.
Run
We're
it
out of here. No, I mean, great start.
Yeah.
Little things going wrong for G2. Weird composition that Envy managed to pull it off with as well.
It's surprising again simply because the Androxus is one of those things that's your kill confirmation usually.
I asked Meta why. He goes, what else? There was nothing else.
He's not wrong, and that's kind of a good point. I mean,
Shaw's banned, Cassie's banned, Maeve's banned.
Yeah.
Zin's picked. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, you already have the Pip on that kind of
He
hybrid
said
damage.
they almost picked Tyra. They were hovering and thinking about Tyra there for a moment. Rock did wonderfully, though.
Yeah, he really did.
I think he played it patiently. He hit his ults from distance. There was a lot of things going well, and at the end of the day, it is a comfort pick for him.
Yeah, for sure. And, Rock Monkey this set, I think, is a really good identifier for what you can expect from Envy as far as how they kind of warm up into sets, because when he was on the Maven Frog Isle, it was kind of a slow start for him, and all of a sudden he pops off. Same thing here. It was a slow start with Androxus, and then all of a sudden he pops off. So you can never really rule anybody out at this stage in the game. It's not just Team Envy. Now that we're dealing with 5 more teams left, you can never rule anybody out of this fight.
He's not a very flanky flanker.
No, not really.
He played the
That's a good
Babe
point.
kind of patiently in the back line. The Andrew really wasn't across half court more often than not. But I think Rocky, he pulls it up. It's just his style, and I think it works for Envious.
I think as well when you look at a player like Rock Monkey, he knows when to commit to push for a kill. And that's the big thing when you saw him play the Maven. Now when you see him play the Androxus, he's running that kit where he can dash straight in with the extra speed. He can get there to confirm any kills that he needs to.
Yeah.
And if not, well, I mean, that's kind of what we saw from like Buck back in the World Championships. It was like this pick and shoot. And then when you have somebody low, you and your team can commit for the call. It's not just one person. That's the biggest thing as I look at flankers in general. When you kind of compare the flankers at the highest level here and some that you might see in your ranked games is, as a flanker, it does not say I just have to always be in the enemy's backline. Sometimes you have to play patiently, and I think Rock Monkey's example of that is pretty pristine.
A great way to bounce back as well. Envious kind of getting smushed there early on Jaguar Falls. I'm really impressed just the amount of back and forth that we saw in that set. G2 not necessarily known for being super resilient once they go down, but an incredible set from them. And I want to talk about that moment where I feel like 99% on the point, G2 have Dosups there. Feels like they should have capped there. And the discussion I was having with Kyle, with Meta, and with Phoenix in the room that we were watching was, does he body blocks there? Great, on point, but he walks a little bit too far forward. Is that him thinking he's still on point, and there's someone, or does he think there's someone else there on point to continue to capture, or is that just a small misstep by Doe?
I think it's just your thinking priority. Your number one priority in his mind was to body block. His secondary was capture the point, and I think he just stepped a little bit too far. I mean, it is a very small line. That little barrier around the ring, it looks like you might be on, but sometimes you're just not. So I like the idea of going for it. It's just a little bit too far trying to make sure that he got the big body block play than the actual objective play.
I tend to agree. It's time for the post-game interview over with Envious.
All right, guys, welcome. I see that the winner's mantle has already been adorned here by Team Envy. After that set, which went the distance, and it's not often we can say that for a best of three, as they're usually over so fast. How are you guys both feeling?
It was a little nerve-wracking after game 2. But then after we capped the first mid, I knew we had it.
For me, I never count G2 out personally, so I think that set could go 3 games no matter what. I mean, I at the start of game 3, I was a little like not feeling great about how I was playing, and turned it up at the end, so I feel good now.
Yeah, G2 knows us really well, and we know G2 really well, so it could go either way both times.
Yeah, I guess that has to play a huge factor in the way you guys can prepare for a set like this. You know, you guys are known for doing your homework. Was there anything that you did except just say, let's just be us, let's just play our game today to prepare for this one?
Yeah, we watched our sets with G2, and we ran over the drafts, and we added in what we learned at LAN. We're adapting a lot, and we're learning a lot from Fnatic's drafts because I feel like they're the best right now. Yeah, that was pretty much it. We just rewatched the games, went over draft. Most of the games, it feels like right now, are won in draft.
A big part of that last game, though, on Jaguar Falls specifically, felt like a lot of it was won through ultimates, or really ultimate usage. And I'm starting to see with some of the trigger discipline in that final game, which Envy had. So a bit of a throwback almost to Virtus Pro last November, who go, we don't use ults. All right, everybody ult right now. How important of a factor is that sort of really, really tight and clinical ultimate usage to you, and how much is that a part of your wins?
I think ultimate usage is very, very important. Maybe more important than it's ever been, because teams are punishing you for not using your ults or taking so much of the map away from you, and they're getting them back really fast. There's certain characters where they're ulting 2-3 times on one push, and they're getting so much room off of it and making plays with it. It's tough. I think right now I'm really pretty confident for the most part with how we're ulting compared to the rest of the teams, but I think a lot of teams are just like playing so aggressive and just getting so much value
Random
out of
used
it.
to flame me for never ulting, so now I just ult off cooldown. If we lost the point and I had ult, Random would be like, hey,
his ults are amazing on land though, so guess it helped.
A lot of things, obviously, I just want to talk about your journey through this LAN, because everyone's had ups and downs. So is G2, so have you guys. What do you think has been the biggest learning experience so far here that's helped you transition into this point where you're going to closely be in the losers finals, and also be able to maybe help you take this tournament like you guys did at Vegas?
I think just this is our 3rd LAN. I think this is your 4th LAN, right? I mean, I just think over time you just get used to it and just get used to, like, these teams are so good. Like, you're going to take losses sometimes. Like, when you're playing teams like Fnatic and G2 and Na'Vi, like, you have to be able to bounce back. And if you lose a map, like, make sure in the next map you're staying positive, because you never know. You could go down 2-0 in a best of 5 and come back and bring it all the way because everyone stayed in a good mental state and played well together, you know?
All right, guys. Well, with your second run at the losers bracket in under a month, you guys have a bold future ahead of you. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck in your future matches.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Double kill. 3.